That was by Greg Tamblyn.
He did it at the convention one year.
Oh, he did. Yeah, this is one of his biggies. It's one of, and this is one that I like to do especially. And all right, that worked okay with only 5 strings. 2 weeks ago, we left off in kind of a pivotal moment in our incredible journey, the journey of the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt through the wilderness. The people had come through the wilderness to be trained into their freedom and all the way to the border of Canaan, the promised land. Moses, their prophet and guide, had died, and so a new leader shows up, Joshua, son of Nun, who will lead us in the next stage of our journey. And what lies ahead is not a leisurely stroll into paradise. That's what the promised land is supposed to be. Oh, land flowing with milk and honey. Ah, isn't this wonderful? Well, it's not quite that easy. Our journey into the promised land, our journey into Canaan, is a campaign. It's a series of conflicts, challenges, tests, victories, and defeats. It is a conquest. Joshua's story in the Bible is about bloodshed. It's about military battles and political domination. Thank you. Ancient battles, but we're not here for a military history. We're here for spiritual revelation. We are seeking the helpful, practical, spiritual lessons that we can take into our lives today. How does this help me today? These stories are about our consciousness. It is about moving from bondage to liberation, from freedom to fulfillment. The battles of Joshua are metaphors for our own inner struggles when we stand on the edge of a breakthrough and find that our doubts, our fears, and our habitual thinking still stand in our way. The promised land is not a piece of real estate. It is a state of realization, a consciousness of peace, a consciousness of wholeness, abundance, and divine order. And Joshua is our spiritual faculty that takes over after the long wanderings. Metaphysically, Joshua represents our spiritualized intellect, our higher will, the part of us that listens to our divine guidance and is bold enough to act on it. Joshua doesn't replace Moses. He fulfills what Moses began. And where Moses symbolized the divine law and vision for the promised land, Joshua symbolizes the activity of that vision in our human experience. Today we pick up the story in the book of Joshua. We're going to be reading chapters 1 through 6. Chapter 1 begins with Joshua's commission. God speaks directly to Joshua. As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will not fail you or forsake you. Only be strong and very courageous, being careful to act in accordance with all the law that my servant Moses commanded you. For then, and only then, shall you make your way prosperous, and then shall you be successful. That's Joshua 1st chapter 7 through 8th verse. Do not be frightened or dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. This is one of the most repeated affirmations in all of Scripture. Be strong and courageous. And when we stand on the edge of transformation, it is our rallying cry. It is our inner spirit propelling us forward. And when we feel fear rising as we attempt to change our lives, we can affirm, be strong and courageous. The Spirit is with me. And when we set boundaries, or when we leave toxic situations or pursue our true calling, our inner Joshua can say, be strong and courageous. The Spirit is with you. Stay faithful to the truth that brought you thus far, and you will see it. It will see you. We've discussed the various biblical writers and how each have their own voice. The book of Joshua was written, or at least compiled and edited, by someone that scholars call the Deuteronomic editor, the D writer, or the D editor. Joshua's God's speech to Joshua, in God's speech to Joshua, we hear the real message of the D writer. This is the D writer's core belief. This is his way of seeing the world. Alrighty? The D writer wants to send the message that if we obey the law of Moses, this is the 613 rules and regulations that Moses came down on the mountain. If we obey the law of Moses, then we will be blessed. If we abandon the law of Moses, we will suffer the consequences. Now, we've already talked about this. In unity, we interpret the law of Moses as the law of mind action, the law of cause and effect. Thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. The law is not divine reward or punishment for doing the right thing or not doing the right thing. It is that when we align our thoughts and actions with the divine truth within us, we flourish, we prosper, we grow. And when we get out of alignment, when we allow ourselves to drift off the path that we know is right for us, we experience the consequences. It's not a punishment. It's the natural outworking. You can stay on the tracks, ignoring the facts, but you can't blame the wreck on the train. In chapter 2, Joshua sends 2 spies into Jericho, and the writer introduces us to Rahab, a Canaanite woman who lives in Jericho, and she hides these 2 Israelite spies. And Rahab tells them, I know that the Lord has given you the land, and the fear of you has fallen on us. We have heard how the Lord dried up the water of the Red Sea, and as soon as we heard it, our hearts melted. The people of Jericho have already been defeated by their own fear. The walled city of Jericho represents the hardened, fortified beliefs, the erroneous error thinking, and anything that is still left behind in our consciousness, anything that is still holding us back from realizing and knowing the truth of the promised land. It is the inner resistance to change. It is our ego defenses that we have built up over the years. And those walls can seem impenetrable. Why do I write words bigger than I can say? Impenetrable. Thank you. Hard to get through. These walls are hard to break down, but over the years, we know that the truth is coming. Even our own fears know that they cannot last. In chapter 3, we come to a decisive moment in our transformation. The Israelites are preparing to cross the Jordan River, and Joshua instructs the priests carrying the Ark of the Covenant. We covered the Ark of the Covenant. They got the Ark of the Covenant on poles, and they're carrying it across. And Joshua tells them to go ahead and step into the water. Cross the Jordan. We're not talking any bridge here. Just cross the Jordan. Take that first step. And as soon as the soles of their feet touch the water, what do you think happens? No. It splits, just like the Red Sea. It's almost an exact parallel. Crossing the Jordan is just like crossing the Red Sea. The river parts. The waters flowing from above stood still, and the people crossed over opposite Jericho. That's Joshua chapter 3, verse 16. This is a key metaphysical image. The Red Sea and the Jordan River both symbolize thresholds of our consciousness. The Red Sea represents our liberation, the change from bondage into freedom. And the Jordan represents a new entry, a new spiritually mature awareness. The Israelites are no longer escaping something. Now they are claiming something. And when we cross our own Jordan, when we leave behind not just limitation, but the very idea that we are somehow victims of life, we claim our authority as co-creators with God, making a world of our choosing. After crossing the Jordan, something remarkable happens. Joshua 5, verse 12, the manna ceased on that day, and they ate from the produce of the land. Remember now, for 40 years in the wilderness, the Israelites survived on manna, this mysterious food from heaven, symbolizing God's provision. Manna appeared every morning as a gift from God. But now, as they enter Canaan, the manna stops, and we begin to eat what the land produces. Now, there's a deep spiritual symbolism here. Manna can represent a beginner's kind of faith. It shows up when we are just learning how to trust the divine. When I first got into New Thought and the law of mind action, I went a little overboard. It was, I like to say, it was the bewitched version of unity, where I was snapping and popping, wiggle your nose and all of a sudden thing. I remember going out. I was fixing copiers at the time. That was my career, and I would run across a part for a copier that I usually didn't carry. But I would walk confidently out to my car, visualizing that part in my hand, and boom, if I didn't have it in the car. Wow! Pretty darn amazing. Well, eventually that kind of beginner's faith, it begins to fall away as you realize that there are more important things to pray about. As we grow in spiritual maturity, we move on to a new kind of faith. One that recognizes that God's provision is not limited to one channel. God as source is always abundant, but the channel through which we receive that abundance can change. It might look like a career change for you. It might look like a relationship shift or a new way of receiving spiritual nourishment. Something that once worked for us no longer does. We don't mourn the loss of manna, we give thanks for the new harvest, the new channel through which we receive our good. And now we come to the famous story of Joshua and Jericho. Joshua fit the battle of Jericho. Up in the morning, pilgrim, pray tell me where I'm gone. Tell me where I'm going to on the disenchanted ground. Oh, Joshua fit the battle of Jericho. Jericho is the first great obstacle in our way as we enter the promised land. It is a city with high walls and gates that are tightly shut. But Joshua receives divine instructions. God tells Joshua to march around the city once each day for 6 days. And then on the 7th day, march around it 7 times with 7 priests blowing 7 trumpets. And then give a loud shout, and the walls will fall. Now, this is no ordinary military strategy, is it? It is a spiritual ritual. The number 7 represents spiritual completion, divine order, and inner alignment. 7 days of marching, 7 circuits of the city, and on the 7th day, 7 priests with 7 horns. This is not about brute force. It is about consciousness, persistence, attunement. And when we face our Jericho, any seemingly unbreakable problem, we may try to fight it. We may try to argue with it or ignore it. But the only way to defeat it is by going through it. And the only way through it is spiritual. Surrounding it with prayer, affirming the truth over and over, staying the course, and waiting for the right moment to give it the full voice of Spirit. And then, when everything is in divine alignment, the walls will come down. Jericho may seem impossible, but it isn't. Even today, archaeologists tell us that Jericho is likely the oldest city in the world. It's Jericho. Joshua fit the battle of Jericho. That Jericho might be the oldest city in the world. It is one of the first fortified human settlements on all the planet. Jericho has had many walls that have fallen and been rebuilt many, many times over the centuries. It isn't just one wall in one battle. In 1922, British archaeologist John Garstang excavated a set of fallen walls at Jericho, ancient fallen walls, and he confidently declared that these were the walls from Joshua's time. But 50 years later, Kathleen Kenyon, she was a very good archaeologist, and she had more advanced dating methods, and she showed that those walls were actually 1,000 years older than John Garstang thought that they were. They could not possibly have been from the time of Joshua. Now, what does that teach us? Science and faith often tell different stories. And that's because they answer different questions. Archaeology may have given us one timeline, and the Bible may have given us another. But our purpose is not to either prove or disprove the Bible with science, or prove or disprove science with the Bible. It is to extract the spiritual principles. Jericho is real to us, not because of the bricks and mortar, but because we know what it's like. We know what being stuck, what being stagnant and stymied by some impediment feels like. We know what that feels like, to run up against that wall. And each of us at some point must walk around that wall, around that city. We must sound the trumpet of truth and watch the walls fall. Let me be clear. The conquest, the military conquest of Canaan, in a metaphysical view, is not about taking what belongs to others. It is about reclaiming what is already ours by right of consciousness. The spiritual life isn't passive. It requires strength and courage, not aggression, but determination. We are not conquering others. We are conquering our own fear, our own doubt, our own limitations. We face the inner resistance that says, you can't do this. And we're standing up and we're saying, yes, we can. With God, all things are possible. Joshua's journey reminds us that spiritual evolution is not a straight line. It moves in circles. 7 circles around Jericho, 7 steps of spiritual unfoldment, 7 days of creation. Every time we take another step around this walled city of whatever problem we're facing, every time we take a step, every time we turn our hearts in prayer and our minds to truth, we weaken the resistance until it finally gives way. And then, down the walls come, and the way opens before us. And we enter the land, not just a new location, but a new life. A life of clarity, confidence, love, purpose, and fulfillment. So let us be strong and courageous. Let us remember the words that God spoke to Joshua. The law shall not depart out of your mouth, and you shall meditate upon the law day and night. For then you shall make your way prosperous, and then you shall be successful. So stay faithful to the law of mind action, not out of fear or obligation, but out of recognition that it is our path into the promised land, where we have what we want to have, do what we want to do, be who we want to be, and experience whatever it is that we want to experience. And when we stand before our own Jericho, we don't fight it. We don't fight it the way the world fights. We walk our sacred path. We sound our inner trumpet, and we let the truth shout from our spirits. The walls will fall. The land will open, and we will know that we have entered not just the promised land, but a promised life. God bless you all. Well, this is our opportunity, yours and mine, to pour out the gift of God from within us through our tithes and our love offerings. And can we share this offertory blessing together? Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am joy-filled and grateful. Thank you, God. And you can send your gifts, your tithes, your love offerings to paypal.me/UnityLincoln. That's paypal.me/UnityLincoln. Or you can send through the mail or a bank transfer by sending to Unity Lincoln, P.O. Box 30209, Lincoln, Nebraska 68503. Or you can go to our webpage or use this little QR code right here to scan on your phone and donate via PayPal. Also remember to like us on Facebook and subscribe on YouTube. And give and God gives it back to you. Give and God gives it back to you. Give and God gives it back to you. Pressed down, shaken together, running over, back in good measure. God gives it back to you. Sing it over, give and God gives it back to you. Give and God gives it back to you. Give and God gives it back to you. Pressed down, shaken together, running over, back in good measure. God gives it back to you. And can we share this affirmation for our church family? Together, Unity Lincoln is blessed to draw the people, funds, and all that is required for the health and growth of our community and peace in the world, heart to heart. And I want to thank all of you